Welcome back to the show. If you work in sales, run a GTM team, or you are a founder trying to figure out how to grow faster, this episode was built for you. We are on a moment right now where the tools, the power outbound are changing faster than the most teams can keep up with. And one company that's right at the center of that shift is Apollo, a platform used by over 500,000 companies worldwide. My guest today is Brandon Reis. He's a GTM engineer at Apollo, which means he's not just someone who talks about outbound strategy. He's one of the people actually building it, testing it, and running it inside one of the most sophisticated GTM machines in the industry. Brendan, welcome to the show. Give us a quick sense of what a GTM engineer at Apollo actually does day to day, because I think most people hear that title and think sales rep, and but it's so much more than that, right?
Yeah, it is. First of all, super excited to be here. This is something that I love talking about. You often hear for people who are in go-to-market engineering that, I feel like I've been doing this forever. I just didn't have the right tools, and now I do. So, to your point, I think some will say that it's more like a sales background. Others will really align it to RevOps. But I think at the core, go-to-market engineering is more about strategy, right? And I think it's about learning how to innovate versus invent. I think that's like the big difference between RevOps and go-to-market engineering. They both have their roles, right? I think when you're an inventor, you're really trying to like build something that is uniquely new, whereas innovation is about how can I maybe grab a set of tools or a set of criteria and plug them in or move them around in a certain way that I can perhaps do something else with, right? It's like a kind of like a Rubik's Cube. Either you're the creator of the Rubik's Cube or you're almost like the player, right? Who tries to, futz around with the toy. So that's what I see what I do for our customers every day. Yeah.
Seems like a cool job, right?
Yeah.
So, Brennan, I would jump straight to the questions today. And my
Mhm.
first question for today is that the Claude MCP integration, like with the Claude MCP connected live, Apollo is not just a sales tool anymore. It's starting to look like the execution layer behind AI itself. What does it mean when prospecting and sequencing actually happen inside the conversation? And as someone's building GTM systems from the inside, what does that unlock that was not possible before?
Sure. So I think the Claude connector is a big win beyond Apollo, right? I think it's a big win for something that businesses have been trying to achieve for a very long time, which is keeping their team or their organization in one window, right? I think that's like the goal of all businesses. It should be if I can just from one page run all the actions that I'd like to, right? So we created this connector with that in mind, right? So if you're thinking about yourself as a sales rep who doesn't want to be bothered clicking the right pages to access uh, contacts or companies or doing any kind of research on them or running them through sequences, et cetera, you can now do that through Claude, right?
Yeah,
And I think like businesses really struggle to understand like so what. The so what is you can layer this with all of your other MCPs. Like today, in my instance, I run Apollo against almost every other tool in our tech stack. That's why it's powerful. I can run several conversations and just enrich pre-existing data within Apollo with everything else that I have in my ecosystem. And that's what how we're seeing businesses use this today for sure. Yeah.
cool, cool. So Apollo introduced this idea of vibe GTM, the idea that running a full outbound motion should feel as natural as sending a text. As a GTM engineer who lives in these workflows daily, what does vibe GTM actually look like in practice? And is this really a shift in mindset or a shift in tooling?
I love this question. It is a shift in mindset, and I think it's really important. I talk a lot on LinkedIn about how the goal of AI is to become more human. And many people who are against AI actually think it's the opposite. But this type of development with the Claude MCP is a testament to that, right? I should be able to run motions in my day to day in plain English. I don't want to know how to use JavaScript. I don't want to know anymore how to read through Python and set up queries and stand up SQL tables, et cetera. I just want to get to my answer. This
Yeah.
is a step closer to being able to do that by just speaking as you would a neighbor, speaking as you would a friend, a teacher, what have you. Hey, this is what I'm looking for. Can you help me find companies that fit my ICP, people who are going to fit my persona? If not, why? If yes, tell me more about them, right? These are like storybook, very elementary questions that you can now ask AI engines to get the output you need.
Okay, so you're saying the AI assistant has gotten the headlines, but like uh, it gives AI projects to give the assistant context about your ICP, your campaigns, your goals. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, here's a really good example. In Apollo right now, a motion that we run with the AI assistant is I go, okay, use the lookalikes filter to
Okay.
select 5 businesses that represent organizations you've sold to successfully in your pipeline, right? They're
Yeah.
qualified, you trust them. When you select them, then open the AI assistant in Apollo and say, find decision makers. And what it will do is it will pay attention to what you're looking at on the screen. We'll say find decision makers for these accounts. The page flips. I've never seen it go past 35 to 40 seconds. You'll go to the find people database, and now you have a slew of great points of contacts that you can filter down further based on your personas, for businesses that look like businesses that you successfully sold to, where you nailed the sales pitch, where you nailed the value proposition and the objection handling, et cetera, right? That whole motion, I do that in every training exercise. It gets companies so excited because reps understand the concept of a lookalike. It happens the full thing in about a minute and a half, right? Just the flip alone to from companies to people is a 30-second query, and you can track it in the assistant.
Yeah, cool. So being a GDM and everyone who's using Apollo, I guess you have to build a whole thought process in order to use something. But I guess now with this AI, it's easier than ever to build a thought process to target your, I would say, I would say similar ICP you were targeting before. So yeah, that's a great stuff, I guess. Okay, so I would head to the next question, and that is nobody talks about livability as a GTM strategy, but burn domains and spam, I would say, filters are quietly killing outbound for a lot of teams right now. Apollo now handles warm up, domain purchasing, and deliverability scoring all inside the platform. How much of what teams call a pipeline problem is actually a deliverability problem in disguise, and what's the fix?
I love this question because it's honestly the biggest bottleneck for me, right? I would say
Yeah,
so when we work with businesses, I really break businesses apart into 2 groups, right? You have your admins and your end users. Everybody in the middle doesn't really matter for the conversation about deliverability. Your end users are the ones who suffer when you don't prioritize correct email architecture, right? Like I'm having to sometimes build workflows that are very basic. Like if a contact is spam blocked or if a contact is bounced, then make sure to add them to a DNC list. Let's try to enrich them again. Are they verified? Are they not verified? You would be so surprised the number of logos that don't have workflows like that. And it's because if you look on the other side of organizations, admins, they sign the contract, they go, this is going to be a great enablement tool. And then all of a sudden they disappear. And they don't realize that like you're the drivers for helping your end users, your reps, your
exactly.
marketers succeed with the tool. So this is going to be like I think this will be the biggest area that will dictate if businesses fail or not. Like, do you have the right alternate domains? Do you have correct subdomain tracking set up? Do you have a number of inboxes that support the goals of your organization, knowing that it's recommended to only send 50 emails a day per mailbox? That's
Yeah.
going to be the end call, I think, for a lot of orgs.
Yeah. Great. So GDM engineer demand grew 205% last year. And a big part of that is because companies build Frankenstacks that nobody can actually manage. As
Sure.
someone who built these systems from inside Apollo, what's the honest case for consolidation? And where does Apollo still need you to bring something external to get the job done?
Okay, interesting. So I guess understanding what you're describing, it's more like, at what point does maybe either Apollo, for lack of a better term, can fall short because of a broken tech stack or like that enablement portion, right? So this is funny because I think this is where the go-to-market engineering role kind of dips a little bit into RevOps because I do see this as a RevOps challenge. So I spend a lot of time trying to partner with RevOps teams in the book that I manage to figure out why does something exist the way it does, right? That question answers whether we need to bring something in or uniquely port it over from whether it's like an integration or an API into Apollo, or are we better suited by just breaking the tool that they're using altogether and then taking the pieces and rebuilding it directly within the platform, right? So understanding the goal is important. Separately, the reason that I love asking that question to customers about like why does a tool exist or not, you can
Yeah.
see their wheels turn of going, actually, why do we have this? There's so much redundancy in our tech stack. I can't justify the spend anymore. Music to my ears because then we can get them doubling down on some of the more advanced features that we have in our platform that will help
Yeah.
them anyway. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Brandon, for answering this. And this is exactly what I wanted to hear. And to be honest, this has been generally one of the most practical conversations I have about what AI actually looks like inside our real GD motions, not theoretical, not future state, but right now. So the thing I keep coming back to this is the idea that Apollo is not just another sales tool anymore. Between the cloud integration, the AI copywriter, the AI assistant with projects, the deliverability suite, and it's starting to look like the operating system for modern GDM teams. So if you're listening and you are not using Apollo yet, or you haven't explored the new AI features, I genuinely just go sign up for the free trial and start there. The gap between teams using this and teams that are not is only going to get wider. So, Brendan, last questions. Where can people follow you, learn from you, and stay connected with what you're building at Apollo?
Sure. I think I post the most on LinkedIn, and our team, we have a really great company culture at Apollo. There's a lot of pouring in each other's cups or glasses. So, I think if you follow any of us online, you'll really have your finger on the pulse in terms of what we've created. Worst case scenario, you can always reach out to one of us, and then we'll point you in the right direction. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And for everyone listening, if this episode was useful, share it with one person on your GDM team. That's the best review you can give. See you next week.